The discovery. The first sign of trouble came on a quiet Tuesday morning at the United Nations Space Defense Force headquarters in Geneva. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her computer screen, her coffee growing cold beside her as she analyzed yet another report of a missing child. This was the 107th case in just 3 months. "Director, you need to see this," Sarah called out to her superior, who was passing by her office. Director James Wilson stepped in, his weathered face showing concern. Sarah pointed to the pattern on her screen. "Look at these disappearances. They're not random." The missing children cases shared strange similarities. Each child vanished without a trace, leaving no DNA evidence. Security cameras near the sites showed mysterious static just before each disappearance. Most importantly, all the children were between ages 8 and 12, and all were considered gifted in some way. "What's even stranger," Sarah continued, pulling up a global map marked with red dots, "is this pattern. The disappearances formed perfect geometric shapes when connected. This isn't human behavior, sir. This is too precise." Wilson's face grew pale as he studied the data. "Keep digging," he ordered, "but keep this quiet for now." That night, Sarah stayed late at the office, reviewing security footage from a recent disappearance in Tokyo. The video showed young Hiroshi Tanaka, a 10-year-old math prodigy, walking home from his advanced studies program. As she watched, frame by frame, something caught her eye. She rewound the footage. There, in 3 frames only, a strange shimmer appeared in the sky. Sarah enhanced the image, her hands shaking as she worked. The shimmer took shape. It wasn't atmospheric distortion. It was the outline of something massive, something that shouldn't be there. "Oh my God," she whispered, reaching for her phone to call Wilson. Before she could dial, her computer pinged. A new report came in, this time from Brazil. Another child, another gifted student, gone without a trace. But this time, there was something different. A witness had come forward. The witness report described a beam of blue light and a sound like singing crystal. Sarah's heart raced as she read further. The witness, an elderly night watchman, had managed to take a photo with his phone. Though blurry, the image showed something that would change everything. A metallic surface reflecting moonlight, clearly not of Earth origin. Within hours, Sarah found herself in a secure underground facility beneath the UN building. World leaders connected via encrypted channels, their faces grim on the massive screens surrounding her. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sarah began, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "we are not alone, and we are under attack. Someone, something, is taking our children. The evidence suggests an organized extraterrestrial operation." The room erupted in multiple languages, but the Chinese president's voice cut through the chaos. "Dr. Chen, what proof do you have?" Sarah displayed her findings, the geometric patterns, the mysterious signals, the witness photo, and most damning of all, traces of an unknown element found at 3 of the abduction sites. "This material," she explained, "contains isotopes that don't exist on Earth." The U.S. president leaned forward. "What are they doing with our children?" "We don't know," Sarah admitted. "But given the pattern of targeting gifted children, they're selecting for intelligence. They want our brightest minds for something." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "We need to keep this quiet," the British Prime Minister suggested, "to prevent panic." "No," Sarah countered, surprising herself with her boldness. "We need to prepare. If they're advanced enough to take our children without detection, they're advanced enough to do much worse. Humanity needs to know what we're facing." As if in response to her words, every screen in the room flickered. A symbol appeared, a strange spiral pattern that seemed to move even though it was static. Below it, in every human language simultaneously, appeared 3 words: "Submit to testing." The world leaders stared in horror. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't a greeting. It was a demand, and they had already taken over 100 children to prove they meant business. Sarah stood up straight, her voice firm. We don't submit. We fight back. And we find our children. The war for Earth's future had begun with a whisper, but Sarah knew it would end with a roar. Humanity would not go quietly into the night, not while their children were at stake. Commander Jack Martinez adjusted his holographic disguise one last time. After 6 months of preparation, he had finally infiltrated the Galactic Council's research facility on Europa, Jupiter's icy moon. His alien appearance matched the Centaurian species perfectly. Tall, blue-skinned, with 4 arms. No one would suspect he was human. Walking through the sterile white corridors, Jack's heart pounded beneath his disguise. The facility seemed endless, with hundreds of sealed doors marked in alien script. His translator implant worked silently, converting the strange symbols into English. Laboratory 7. Testing chamber. Specimen storage. Each label made his blood run colder. A group of alien scientists passed by, discussing something in their clicking language. Jack's translator caught fragments. Human subjects. Remarkable adaptability. Proceed with Phase 3. He forced himself to nod at them casually, fighting the urge to grab them and demand answers. Finally, he reached his target, Central Data Hub. Using the stolen access codes, he entered the vast room filled with floating holographic screens. His hands trembled as he connected the quantum drive Dr. Chen had given him. Download everything, she had ordered. We need to know what they're doing to our children. The screens flickered as data poured into the drive. Jack's eyes widened as images appeared. Medical diagrams of human children, experiment logs, test results. The truth was worse than anyone had imagined. A video file opened automatically. Jack watched in horror as alien scientists performed tests on terrified human children. They weren't just studying them. They were trying to upgrade them. The Galactic Council saw humans as an emerging species with potential, but they wanted to accelerate evolution through forced genetic manipulation. Test Subject 47 shows promising neural adaptation. A clinical voice narrated as a young girl screamed in pain, her body glowing with strange energy. Though 82% of subjects have not survived the procedure, we believe the success rate can be improved. Jack's disguise flickered as rage threatened his concentration. These monsters were treating children like lab rats, justifying it as helping an inferior species evolve. The video showed failed experiments too. Children who didn't survive their improvements. They were simply disposed of, like broken equipment. An alarm suddenly blared. Jack's heart stopped as a new voice echoed through the facility. Security breach detected in Data Hub. All units respond. They detected his download. Jack quickly pocketed the quantum drive and ran for the emergency exit. He had what they needed, proof of the Council's atrocities. But he had to get it back to Earth. Heavy footsteps approached from both directions. Jack ducked into a side room and froze. The room was filled with stasis pods, each containing a sleeping human child. Hundreds of them, far more than anyone had suspected. Their faces peaceful in frozen sleep, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. "No," Jack whispered. "We won't let this happen." The door burst open. Security forces rushed in, weapons raised. Jack's holographic disguise failed completely, revealing his human form. The aliens stared in shock. A human, here, impossible. Jack smiled grimly. "Surprise," he said, and pressed the emergency beacon on his wrist. The quantum teleporter Dr. Chen's team had developed activated instantly. The aliens fired, but too late. Jack vanished in a flash of light. He materialized in the secret UN facility in Antarctica, immediately collapsing. Medical teams rushed to help him, but he waved them away. "Get this to Dr. Chen," he gasped, holding out the quantum drive. "Show everyone. Show them what these monsters are doing to our children." Hours later, world leaders watched the evidence in stunned silence. The Galactic Council's true nature was exposed. Not benevolent overseers, but cruel experimenters who saw humanity as lab rats. "This ends now," Dr. Chen declared. her voice shaking with controlled fury. "We're not going to ask them to stop. We're not going to negotiate. We're going to burn their whole system down." The room erupted in unanimous agreement. Humanity had seen the horror inflicted on their children. Now, they would show the Galactic Council why you should never, ever harm a human child. The time for diplomacy was over. The time for revenge had begun. General David Rodriguez stood in the massive underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. 3 months had passed since Commander Martinez's shocking discovery. The huge chamber, once a simple military storage area, now hummed with activity as the newly formed Human Defense Alliance prepared for war. "Show me the latest weapon tests," he ordered. Dr. Chen walked beside him, her tablet displaying videos of the new technology they had developed by reverse engineering alien tech from crashed scout ships. "The plasma rifles are ready," she explained, pointing to soldiers training with glowing blue weapons. "And this is even better." She led him to a sealed chamber where scientists worked on a massive device. "What am I looking at?" the general asked. "We call it the shield breaker. Their ships have energy shields we couldn't penetrate before. But now," she pressed a button. A beam of purple energy shot out, cutting through 3 layers of alien shield technology like paper. "Now we can hurt them." Across the facility, hundreds of soldiers trained in special simulation chambers. They fought holographic aliens, learning to counter their superior strength and speed. Each soldier wore experimental combat suits, designed to match alien physical capabilities. The suits multiply human strength by 10. A young engineer explained proudly. "And the neural interface lets soldiers react as fast as they can think. We're not just matching alien technology, we're improving it." In another section, Dr. Chen's team had made an even more important discovery. "Their biggest weakness isn't technological," she told the general. "It's psychological. The council species are so old, so advanced, they've become arrogant. They don't think we can fight back. That's why they were so careless with security. They never imagined we could infiltrate their facility." The general nodded. "Pride comes before a fall." "Exactly. And we found something else." She pulled up images of council ships. "Look at their design. Everything is about showing off their power. Their ships are beautiful but inefficient. They sacrifice functionality for appearance. They're not ready for a real war." In the medical bay, doctors worked with the few children who had been rescued during small stealth missions. The kids were helping them understand what they had seen inside council facilities. Their information was invaluable. "The aliens argue a lot," 10-year-old Emily explained, drawing pictures of what she had seen. "Different groups want different things. Some of them didn't like hurting us, but they were scared to speak up." This information led to a new strategy. The HDA began identifying potential allies among the council species. Not all aliens supported the experiments. Some could be turned against their leaders. Meanwhile, in orbit, Earth's first real warships took shape. Built in secret using a combination of human innovation and stolen alien tech, they were unlike anything the Council had seen before. Where alien ships were sleek and showy, human ships were practical and tough, designed for real combat. "We've launched the satellite network," a Space Command officer reported. "If they try to jump in with a large fleet, we'll know." Dr. Chen watched the preparations with mixed feelings. She hated that it had come to war, but the images of suffering children haunted her dreams. There was no other choice. A young lieutenant rushed in. "Dr. Chen, we found their primary research facility. It's not on Europa like we thought. That was just a secondary site. The main lab is on a moon orbiting Saturn." The general's eyes hardened. "How many children?" "Sensors detect at least 500 life signs matching human children." The room fell silent. 500 kids being tortured in the name of improvement. Every adult present felt the same rage burning in their hearts. "Launch date remains in 3 days," the general announced. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon must be ready. We're not just fighting for vengeance now. We're fighting for 500 kids who need us. Dr. Chen looked at the battle plans one last time. The Council thought humans were primitive, weak, easy to control. They were about to learn a very painful lesson about underestimating humanity, especially human parents fighting for their children. The war for Earth's children would begin at dawn. The attack began at exactly 3:00 a.m. Earth time. 100 human ships, painted midnight black to blend with space, emerged from their hidden positions behind Mars. Leading the fleet was the HDS Vengeance, humanity's first stellar battleship, commanded by Admiral Sarah Wong. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer announced. "Shield breakers at full power." Admiral Wong stood at the bridge, her face illuminated by holographic displays. "Send the signal to all teams," she ordered. "Operation Child's Dawn begins now." Simultaneously, at 3 different Council facilities, human strike teams that had been hiding in stealth pods for days received the go code. They had one mission: get the children out before the main battle began. On Saturn's moon, Commander Martinez led Alpha Team through disabled security systems. His earlier infiltration had given them all the codes they needed. "Movement ahead," he whispered into his comm. 2 Centaurian guards. Before the aliens could react, silent stun beams dropped them. The human soldiers moved past in their new combat suits, heading straight for the holding cells. "By the stars," one of his team gasped as they entered the main chamber. Hundreds of stasis pods lined the walls, each containing a sleeping human child. Medical equipment blinked quietly, monitoring their forced evolution. "Start the evacuation," Martinez ordered. "Beta Team, clear the path to the landing zone. Charlie Team, plant the charges. No evidence of these experiments can remain." In space, the Council finally detected the approaching human fleet. Their response was exactly what Dr. Chen had predicted: arrogant and unprepared. Primitive vessels approaching. A Council commander sneered to his subordinates. "Activate basic shields. Their weapons cannot harm." His words cut off as the first shield breaker beam sliced through his ship's supposedly impenetrable defenses. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. "Target their engines and weapons only," Admiral Wong commanded. "We want prisoners to stand trial for what they've done." The Council ships, beautiful but impractical, found themselves outmaneuvered by human vessels that had been designed for actual combat, not show. Their elegant energy weapons splashed harmlessly against Earth ships' reinforced hulls, while human weapons tore through their decorative shields. Back on the moon base, Martinez's team reached the central control room. Scientists and guards lay stunned throughout the facility. "The last child is secure," Beta Team reported, beginning withdrawal. "Wait," Martinez said, accessing a computer terminal. "Download everything. The Council will face justice for each experiment, each child they hurt." Suddenly, alarms blared. "Alert! Alert! Human vessels detected. This is impossible. They cannot have such technology." Martinez smiled grimly as panic spread through the Council's communications. "They're learning," he said. "Charlie Team, detonate the charges. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate humanity." In orbit, the battle turned into a rout. Council ships, never designed for serious combat, either fled or surrendered. Their commanders couldn't understand how their primitive enemies had developed such effective weapons. "Sir," a tactical officer called to Martinez, "Council reinforcements dropping out of hyperspace." But before the new enemy ships could join the battle, they received a transmission. Video footage from the facilities where children had been held. The Council ships froze as their crews watched in horror at what their leaders had been doing. 3 Council ships immediately turned their weapons on their own allies. Dr. Chen had been right. Not all aliens supported these atrocities. "All children secured," Beta Team reported. 212 from this facility alone. Medical teams standing by on the rescue ships. Admiral Wong watched from her bridge as the Council forces fell into chaos. "Send the message to all Council worlds," she ordered. The same one they sent us months ago. Across council space, 3 words appeared on every communication channel. Submit to justice. The first battle was over. Humanity had struck back, rescued their children, and shown the galaxy that Earth would not be victimized. But this was just the beginning. There were still hundreds of children to find, and the full might of the Council to face. The war had begun with a human victory, but everyone knew the real fighting was just beginning. The Council's revenge came at dawn. Massive warships appeared over Earth's major cities: London, New York, Tokyo, Mumbai, and Beijing. Each ship was twice the size of anything humans had faced before. The Council had awakened their ancient war fleet. Dr. Chen watched from the underground command center as the first attacks began. Beams of green energy sliced through clouds, targeting city centers. But something unexpected happened. The beams hit invisible barriers. Golden shields of energy flickered into view, protecting the cities. The Council commanders paused in confusion. "Surprise," Dr. Chen whispered, allowing herself a small smile. "We've had 6 months to prepare our defenses." The shield technology, reversed engineered from captured Council ships, had been installed in secret beneath every major city. But that wasn't humanity's only surprise. "All citizens are safely in the underground shelters," General Rodriguez reported. "Operation Underground was completed last week. The cities above, they're empty." The Council forces were bombing ghost towns. Every critical industry, every important facility had been moved underground months ago. Humanity had learned from studying alien history. They always attacked cities first. High above Earth, Admiral Wong's fleet emerged from behind the moon. "Begin counterattack," she ordered. "Show them why you don't threaten our home." The human ships, smaller but more numerous, swarmed the massive Council vessels. Like angry bees attacking bears, they struck at weak points that only Commander Martinez's intelligence had revealed. On the ground, Dr. Chen received an urgent message. "The Council is broadcasting on all frequencies," a communications officer announced. The alien Supreme Commander appeared on screens worldwide. His 4 eyes glowed with rage. "Primitive species," he snarled. "You dare strike at the Council? We gave you the honor of contributing to evolution, and this is how you repay us." Dr. Chen took control of the broadcast. "You kidnapped our children," she replied, her voice steady. "You tortured them in the name of progress. Did you think we would thank you? Your species is young," the commander said. "You cannot hope to defeat us. Our civilization is millions of years old." "Yes," Dr. Chen agreed. "And that's exactly why you'll lose. You're too old, too set in your ways. You forgot what it means to fight for survival." As if proving her words, human ships executed maneuvers the Council had never seen. Their tactics were unpredictable, desperate, effective. Earth's defensive shields held strong while Council ships began falling one by one. But the Council had numbers on their side. More ships arrived, targeting smaller cities that weren't as well defended. Emergency evacuations began worldwide. "We're losing Rio," someone shouted. "Shields failing in Cairo." Dr. Chen watched the casualty reports with a heavy heart. They had saved most civilians, but every death weighed on her conscience. The Council was willing to kill millions to punish humanity's defiance. Then something extraordinary happened. 3 enormous ships appeared. But they weren't Council vessels. They were Arctusians, one of the younger Council races. Their weapons targeted the Council fleet. "We too have watched our children taken," the Arctusian leader broadcast. "Earth does not fight alone." Other ships appeared. More young species, all victims of the Council's evolutionary guidance, joined Earth's defense. The Council's own empire was turning against them. "We expected this," Dr. Chen told General Rodriguez. "Why do you think we broadcast the evidence of their experiments to every world?" The Council's arrogance created too many enemies. The battle raged for hours. Earth's cities burned, but her people survived safely underground. Council ships fell from the sky, defeated by the combined forces of Earth and her new allies. Finally, the Supreme Commander's flagship turned to flee. "This isn't over," he threatened. "We will return with our full force." "We'll be waiting," Dr. Chen promised. "And next time, we're coming to your worlds." As the Council retreated, humanity emerged from their shelters to rebuild. They had survived the first major attack, but everyone knew the Council would return, stronger and more desperate than ever. The war for Earth's future had entered a new phase, and the galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Chen stood before the combined fleet of Earth and its alien allies. 3 months after the Council's failed attack on Earth, they had finally discovered the location of the Council's central command, a massive space station hidden in the Orion Nebula. "Our spies confirm that the remaining 150 human children are held there," she announced to the gathered commanders. "Along with thousands of children from other species, the Council's leaders are using them as shields." Admiral Wong stepped forward, her uniform bearing new battle scars. "Then we'll have to be clever about this. Show them the plan." A hologram appeared, showing the massive space station. It was beautiful, like a golden spiral galaxy. But inside that beauty lay horrors that had to be stopped. "Commander Martinez will lead the rescue teams," Dr. Chen explained. "While the main fleet draws their fire, small stealth ships will deliver strike teams here, here, and here." Red dots appeared on the station's image. In the hangar bay below, Martinez checked his team's equipment one last time. Each soldier carried new weapons designed specifically for this mission. Stun weapons that wouldn't risk hurting the children, and shield breakers modified to work inside the station. Among his team were parents whose children were still missing. They had trained harder than anyone else, driven by desperate hope. Maria Gonzalez, whose daughter was taken 2 years ago, checked her combat suit with fierce determination. "Remember," Martinez told them, "we go in quiet. The Council doesn't know we found them. Let's keep that advantage as long as we can." The combined fleet jumped into hyperspace. Over 500 ships, human, Arctusian, and 3 other allied species, emerged near the Orion Nebula. The golden station hung before them, seemingly peaceful. Then all hell broke loose. The Council's defense fleet appeared, twice as large as expected. But Earth's commanders smiled. They had planned for this. "Execute Operation Ghost," Admiral Wong commanded. Suddenly, the human fleet vanished from the Council's sensors. The new stealth technology, developed by combining Earth and Arctusian science, made them invisible to Council systems. While the Council ships fired blindly into space, the real attack began. Martinez's teams landed on the station, using maintenance airlocks discovered by their spies. "They're in the central sector," Maria whispered, checking her scanner. "The children's life signs are strong." The rescue teams moved through golden corridors, encountering surprisingly little resistance. Then they understood why. Most of the station's troops had been sent to the defense fleet. In space, the battle raged. Admiral Wong's fleet reappeared behind the Council ships, catching them in a deadly crossfire. Allied vessels struck from all directions, using tactics the ancient Council had never seen before. Martinez's team reached the central chambers. Through armored windows, they saw hundreds of stasis pods. Not just human children, but young ones from dozens of species. "Mom," a small voice called out. Maria's daughter, Anna, was awake and staring at them in disbelief. The Council's leaders had kept some children conscious, using them as living security cameras. "Seal the inner doors," a Council voice shouted. The experiments must continue. But they were too late. The rescue teams breached the final defenses. Council leaders, so proud and cruel, found themselves facing parents who had crossed the galaxy to save their children. "Surrender," Martinez ordered, "and you'll receive fair trials." Some fought. Some ran. Some begged for mercy. None escaped. As the children were carefully freed from their pods, Dr. Chen received the message she had waited 2 years to hear. All children secured. Repeat, all children secured. In space, the Council's fleet was in ruins. Their golden station, once a symbol of their power, now belonged to the alliance of younger species they had terrorized for so long. The war wasn't quite over. Some Council forces remained scattered across the galaxy, but their power was broken. Their leaders were captured. Most importantly, the children were finally going home. As rescue ships carried precious cargo back to Earth, Dr. Chen watched the station's detention cells fill with Council leaders. Justice would come next. The galaxy would never again allow children to be sacrificed in the name of progress. The grand halls of the Galactic Assembly buzzed with tension. Beings from 1,000 worlds packed the room, their eyes fixed on the central stage. There, the leaders of the once mighty Galactic Council stood in chains, their faces pale and drawn. At the front of the room, a human woman named Sarah Chen stepped forward. She was small compared to many alien species, but her presence filled the chamber. Sarah had lost her daughter to the Council's experiments. Now she spoke for all the victims. For centuries, Sarah began, her voice steady, the Galactic Council committed unspeakable crimes against children. They took the most innocent among us and treated them like lab animals. Today, we say, no more. A murmur ran through the crowd. Many nodded in agreement, while others wept silently. Sarah continued, humanity may be new to the galactic stage, but we bring with us an ancient idea, justice. Not revenge, but true justice. A chance to heal our wounds and build a better future. As she spoke, screens around the room lit up. They showed images of the rescue operations, human soldiers working alongside alien allies, freeing children from labs and prison camps. There were tears and hugs as families were reunited. One by one, witnesses came forward. They told stories of pain and loss, but also of hope. A Zarthalian father described how human doctors had helped heal his son's wounds. A Axical scientist explained how she had worked with humans to undo the worst of the genetic experiments. The Council leaders shifted uncomfortably. Their lawyer, a tall, insectoid being, tried to argue that they had only been following orders, but the evidence was too strong. In the end, the verdict was clear: guilty. The punishment was not death. Instead, the Council leaders would spend the rest of their lives helping to repair the damage they had caused. They would work in hospitals and schools, always under watch, trying to make amends. As the trial ended, a new chapter began. Representatives from Earth joined with other races to form a new galactic government. This one would be based on respect for all sentient life, no matter how different. Dax, a blue-skinned alien from a water world, spoke next. Humans taught us something important, he said. They showed us that being technologically advanced doesn't make you morally right. We must do better. The new government wasn't perfect. There were arguments and mistakes. But at its core was a commitment to protecting the weak and valuing all life. One of the most important new laws banned experiments on children. Scientists could still do research, but only with strict ethical rules. Adults could volunteer, but kids were off limits. Earth played a big role in the new order, but they didn't try to take over. Instead, they worked as partners with other races. Human schools welcomed alien students, and Earth's universities shared knowledge freely. The children who had been rescued became a symbol of hope. Many of them, scared but strong, grew up to be leaders. They understood better than anyone the importance of compassion and justice. 10 years after the trial, a new monument was unveiled on a peaceful world at the heart of the galaxy. It showed children of different species holding hands in a circle. At the base were words in many languages, but they all meant the same thing: never again. Sarah Chen, older now but still strong, stood before the monument. Beside her was her daughter, Emma, one of the rescued children. Emma had struggled for years, but with love and care, she had healed. Now she worked to help other victims recover. "Mom," Emma said, looking up at the statue, "do you think we really changed things?" Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand. "Look around," she said. All around them, humans and aliens mingled freely. Children played together without fear. In the distance, ships took off for the stars, carrying explorers and diplomats instead of warriors. "We didn't just change things," Sarah said. "We made a whole new world, and we'll keep making it better, one day at a time." As night fell, the monument lit up, a beacon of hope shining out into the vast galaxy. The light seemed to say, no matter how dark things get, there's always a chance for a new beginning. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through conquest, but by standing up for what was right.